All right, let's do this. We got Evan Space about to come on the show. Let's invite him. Let's see if he joins. Oh, hello.
Hello, how are you doing today, sir?
Hey, good, Evan. How are you, man? It was really awesome.
Excellent.
It was awesome to be able to hear from you. I was really excited to see your response. You were able to read the article and everything?
Yeah, actually I did. I thought it was quite intriguing.
Thank you. Thank you. I tried to get as much generalized information about all the candidates and I could, and that's actually how I came across you. And I was really excited to see some of your platforms, some of the things you were talking about. I got a few different questions here, a bunch of different things we can go over, and we'll see what we can get to. It gives me 40 minutes of
Absolutely.
record time on Zoom. But figured first we could start with maybe some of the Line 5 stuff going on. I saw the governor had recently dropped the case from the federal level to the state level. And I did a lot of information on State 5. I wanted to see maybe where you stand with Pipeline 5. Do you want to shut it down? Do you have other ideas or?
Actually, that's an intriguing question to bring up because that's actually one of my babies. I was the guy that had proposed the idea to put a tunnel in underneath the straits before they had even put an idea in for the pipeline itself. I wanted to put a transient tunnel for a train system underneath there. And then came along the Pipeline 5 idea for the tunnel. And of course, I'm 100% behind that.
Right, that's awesome.
It travels with an exuberant amount of fuel every day that we have to and from the Upper Peninsula down to the Lower Peninsula. And we can't do that without the truckloads of amount of gasoline being used and the risk that we take with the truckers going over the bridge in the winter like that. It's one of those things. We can't raise the gas prices in the economy.
Right. Do you think it affects Michiganders more than what's being played? Like I hear a lot of talk, like it's like 30% of the gas goes to Michigan, but I always hear, oh, it's mostly for Canadians, mostly for Canadians. Do you know all the benefits that it does provide to Michiganders?
It provides lower gas prices for them. It provides it's crude oil, I believe, and I believe it's also some it's propane gas.
Propane, yep.
And that right there keeps the lower cost of the how much they're paying.
I know the UP. Yeah, especially with the winter coming in the UP, and they use a lot of the propane up there. The tunnel idea is actually really interesting. I saw that Rick Schneider kind of proposed that back near the end of his term, but did that never go through? Do you know what ended up happening with that plan?
I do not know. I do not know exactly what happened with it. I know that the idea when I heard about it was just like parallel to what I had thought about in about 2016, 2017, coming up with the idea in the first place.
It seems really good. So, it's similar to the idea. We've got a train bridge. I live over by Sarnia. I'm in Michigan on the East Coast by like Port Huron. We have a bridge or a train tunnel that goes under the water to Sarnia. And that seems to provide a lot of access, and they got pipelines going through there as well. I've seen some other options they have for the tunneling going to the UP would actually be like broadband access to the UP as well. So there's a lot of other potential benefits. And that kind of, I wanted to use that to lead into like other issues Michigan's having. I've been hearing a lot more about like brownouts and like power failures. What do you think some like long-term solutions are for Michigan's like kind of power crisis? Besides maybe keeping.
Well, it's due to the harsher conditions that we have of weather. It's also due to the fact that sometimes that the power grids aren't up to date of where they should be. We're using more electricity than we used to. It's a known fact.
Right, with everyone being at home too.
So we need to look at ways to generate new modes of electricity or new modes of fuels that are alternative that will allow us to be able to not rely so much on the power grid that we have right now that is maybe outdated, and help improve our system as we are systematically moving forward with technology.
Are you a fan of like nuclear or anything like that? Have you seen any of the fusion capabilities coming up here in the news?
I'm a big, huge fan of fusion energy, actually. Nuclear, we're trying to stay away from nuclear, but fusion is the new realm of where we're going with it. Being able to create massive amounts of stored energy, like the temperature of the sun inside a contained vessel to put out that much energy for us, which is actually quite amazing. And we've come so far, and we're actually getting even further into it by creating further modes of how long we can sustain it and what we're creating off of it as well.
Right, because it's about reaching that ignition point and keeping the cooling appropriate so you can actually get a steady flow of energy. Do you think we're still?
And it also creates the antimatter that is like so hard to obtain.
Oh, the fusion one?
The element. Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that part about it.
Yep.
Do you think it's still another 40, 50 years? Or do you think I know I've seen a lot of articles coming out on the advancements they've been having and the successes. Do you think that's within a decade or two, or is it still going to be quite a ways out?
If I remember correctly, I thought it was when I read it first, it was like 80 to 100 years. But then I read recently that we had made some major finds and breakthroughs that have led to us in about 20 to 30 years, and we'll see that relatively used on a much wider fashion.
Right. It'll probably just depend on whether we get the long-term interest in it or not in the funding and the building of these newer upgraded facilities. No, that's really cool. Let's see. Then the broadband access, that was a big one. And then another thing I was seeing recently was hospitals in the West Coast. I'm going to kind of jump into COVID a little bit. Hospitals on the West Coast were talking about reaching near capacity or reaching like over capacity. Do you think possibly it might be overhyped, especially with this Omicron variant? Do you think the fear mongering is kind of in full swing right now?
Well, that's the third one I've heard of now. Is that the third variant?
Third, I've heard of a ton. There was like the Lambda variant, the Delta, but they're going in like alphabetical order. So that's like what, like 6 or 8?
Well, it was what I expected to have happened with such a virus that we had. It was compromised out of a host that we still have not recognized and be able to make the cure for yet. And it's amazing to see it replicate into a new form or a new genetic pattern over again, and that's not surprising at all.
No, so, I expected similar things too, especially with the Delta and just with the vaccination. It's mutating too quickly, like influenza. Like it's not the variant; it's the variant that's going to keep coming back around, like seasonally, like the flu. That's how I've always kind of seen it. And then yeah, so in response to that, the government shut down a lot of travel to like South Africa for exposing this. And there's actually been cases of the doctors talking in South Africa, talking about how it's less virulent and actually less deadly to the people who actually get it. Do you think that could be a good thing in the future if it becomes the dominant strain, like over Delta? Do you think we should transition our focus from that more like energy focused or infrastructure related issues?
That's an in-depth question there. I think that if we look at it at the fact that these variants are just like the flu virus, but we have different flu viruses that have come up throughout the years. I think that's all it is in the similarities of it, rather than this outlandish new virus out there. Right. So if we can find a way to work together across the world as one, which I don't know if that is possible, right? We could sustain everything in a short period of time if everybody was able to actually come to a halt for like a period of time and actually not allow it to travel.
Right, similar how they did to like smallpox back in the day, right? Or something similar. They were able to kind of almost eradicate it.
Yeah, but we're such a busy nation and such a busy going future for everybody as humanity and how we're going, that we literally are nonstop, and I don't see that is an option.
Right. So maybe in response, would you agree with maybe a more protectionist stance, or do you want to keep the kind of global way things are going running? Do you think that's very beneficial to Americans?
Keeping the global economy running is beneficial to everyone. To be able to run a normal life is very important. Holding us up with mandates and stuff like that. You could probably talk to all the other candidates right now running for governor, and they will talk over the top about mandates and how they're for freedoms and everything like that. I am 100% behind the freedom of everything that you need to live your daily lives. And that's just well spoken because this is my second run at the candidacy for governor. And I really do believe that I have the strongest platform among any of the candidates, even though I may be the underdog or the underfunded candidate. And
Right.
I tell them, watch out, because somebody like me has got the right stuff to move forward with that.
Right. That's
You
kind of what I
know,
thought about a lot of the other candidates too. It's very sensational. It's very emotional. And I mean, you can kind of see the strategy there. A lot of people in the mainstream, that's what they focus on, especially with like social media. That's how you get clicks, is being over sensational. So how does someone like you get maybe better ideas to the table or get actual beneficial things out there to people without being
by making
overwhelmed by the
results,
sensationalism?
by making results happen rather than talking about them, by actually establishing that I'm going to be the guy that gets things done. You know,
So who are
uh,
different groups that maybe you've been talking to like, are there like people you've been reaching out to kind of get yourself in better positions to take those stands?
well, there's a thing that I've seen. I saw who was favored for the grassroots. I saw who's favored for the GOP. I've seen who's favored on the left for the Democratic kicking. It's obviously Gretchen,
Right.
and I've already gone up against her once in many debates,
Mhm.
and I'm looking forward to having another one with her next year.
No, it'll be good to
And
see. I'm excited for him next year too, man. I think you'll do great. So do you want to give us maybe a brief rundown of what your biggest issues are, and then maybe we can break those down, like what your main focuses are for your platform?
uh, I'd have to say that the biggest thing I want to establish is actually making an economy for Michigan that actually works, bringing to the table the opportunity for everyone to be able to have a job secure for the next 20 years so they can retire, be able to know that the kids growing up that are coming out of school have opportunities available. I mean, I was thinking about it today and thinking about what can you do for the younger generation. And I was thinking maybe we could propose an idea that would be for the young generation coming out of high school, that if you wanted to start a small business, we'll give you a bonus incentive in taxes uh,
Right.
to help you along with that. And I
No.
think that that would be a great way to be able to get the view of the younger generation along with me. I know that their education system is not where it should be because it's the old ways and we haven't gone to the new ways.
Right.
And a lot of the new ways are actually being pushed from the left agenda. And the new way that we should be looking at it is a more of a moderate agenda, not a right or a left, because you got to have that balance to be able to understand both sides. And by doing that, we need to be able to take that core education system and we need to readjust it so kids growing up are going to be tech savvy. And the
Yep.
core education system was based on the old principle of books and reading and writing. Now we're in typing and we're in advanced holographics and design for gaming systems and for computer satellites and
Mhm.
computer chips and everything like that. That's not how our education system was set up.
Right. Things are moving too
So
fast now. Technology is really starting to like take the wheel and just go with it. And I even see the same things for a lot of our government. It's hard for them to adapt and keep up with the rate at which things are changing. Now, there is some troubles that I do see with that, especially with school. Like there was a program created by Mark Zuckerberg called Summit Learning, and it came out of like California, and it became really prevalent during the pandemic. And basically, they're calling it a personalized learning. So like similar to how like Facebook and like Twitter and Instagram work, where you go on and it personalizes your account and gives you basically what you want to see. It's the same thing for this like learning program. Instead of like going to a school and learning from a teacher, they sit you down in front of a computer, and that computer evolves to you and then puts things in front of you. And now the concern comes in is they're
is
not
that
so
for
much.
everyone? Right? I'm
Right,
sorry, don't
right.
mean to interrupt, but is that for everyone?
It's
No, everybody learns differently. And
right.
that's last election cycle when I was running, I was heavily involved with the MEA and talking for the right. I was the only guy on that side. That was kind of fun. But I got
Yeah,
to
make fun of it.
express some feelings about that and that not everybody learns the same.
Right.
Some people are struggling in certain areas, and we don't have, from what one of my other opponents has said, a good count out for graduating stats, for grades, and accountability for how they are going to get along in the real world. and
Right.
where they are academically. She says some of these are like failing grades in school systems, like at 59s and below, failing.
Right.
That's a problem, and I have to agree with my opponent. That is a problem.
It
It is
is.
a problem.
I would agree.
We
I
need
just
to adjust that.
We do.
You know?
There's a huge problem. There's like a huge disconnection, especially because I'm 23 out of school. I got out of school like 5 years ago, and it's already changing a lot even since I was just in it. But a lot of the
Okay.
kids getting out I feel like are experiencing this sense of like derealism, where it's similar with these like personalized learning structures. They're growing up with the idea that the world will adjust to their needs and to their expectations. But when you get into the real world, it tends to be a lot more brutal and a lot more intense than that. And a lot of kids aren't really prepared for that real world aspect of it, and especially when it comes to like the social aspect. And COVID really put the nail in the coffin for a lot of kids there, being out of school for a year, 2 years. Now they're going back, and a lot of them are having all these like anxiety issues and depression and self-harm and stuff.
And this is what's happened now with sadly what happened over at was it Oxford?
Yeah, it's tragedy, man. That's
Is
what
that
I'm
what
saying.
it was?
It was Oxford. Yeah, there's a high school.
Okay,
He's 15 years old.
So the poor kid didn't get the needed attention that he needed. Obviously, there was wounds that weren't visible, that were obviously hidden from everyone, and it was trauma. And he was obviously bullied. This Oxford incident actually brings me back to establishing myself as an older individual, and remembering Columbine. But this was an attempt at that was stopped by good practice in the school system by following procedure. It was very sad and hard. I can't tell you enough. It brings tears to my eyes to know that even anybody was killed or injured.
I've seen some of the footage. It's nightmarish, honestly, some of that stuff. And then the copycat kind of instances that are people like threatening the schools after things like this happen.
That what happened very much so in Columbine, and when it did, there was quite a numerous amount of schools that just went on and on and on about trying to copy what happened there. And I don't know where generations are going, but we need to save them. Make sure
it's a demoralization. Do you think it could be maybe outside influence, or do you think it's mostly internal factors kind of bringing this chaos like this? Like most kids don't have like the Oxford shooter. I think the last thing he wrote before committing his atrocity was the world is dead or something like that. And that's, to me, that's a very powerful message, especially for young kids thinking that kind of thing. They don't have a sense of greatness for the world. I think there was a poll that was just done that showed like a third of Gen Z believes like a civil war is gonna happen within their lifetime. So how do we bring these people back to the fray and keep them from going to the edges of that partisanship?
That's a good question.
Right. Yeah. Maybe hard to answer.
Our kids, they need to know that they're accounted for, that they're a part of society, that they're wanted by everybody.
That they're involved.
Need to know this.
Yeah, and I think your idea with the kind of like what would it be, like a loan that you'd get after high school, like a small business loan or something, or would it be a tax write-off, you said?
Something along that line, something that would be like a tax bonus if they can show a good business plan and put together put a simplistic business plan out there that they can be able to pull up the form, apply for it, and if they meet the qualifications, be able to receive some sort of a bonus to start their business up. To give hope to the younger generations, because I think there's a lot of hope that's dissipated. Social Security is dried up.
Right.
We're looking at the baby boomer generation in Walmarts and in stores and doing the jobs that they should be. They should be on retirement.
Right. So that's something I heard growing up, was Social Security wasn't going to be available to my generation, and it's just going to keep being cut further back and back and back. And that's troubling, because then how do you prepare properly for retirement, especially with inflation and the housing market? Like, it's been a pain to look at properties, or even rentals are hard to come by, or used cars and things like that. So definitely giving kids more options would be a good idea, because right now, really, all you have once you get out of high school is you enter the real world, which tends to be, unless you've got some sort of trades experience, some sort of apprenticeship, but usually that ends up being like factory work, or you go to school and you get yourself almost $100,000 in debt. And I see a lot of kids from my grade going to school and then dropping out and then coming back and just living at home and working the jobs that you're talking about. And I guess what the worry for myself is that these people are never going to be able to grow out of that or see any hope for themselves in the future. So more investment there would be a wonderful thing.
And that's where I come in, and that's why I say, welcome to Michigan. Here I am.
Hell yeah, man.
I'm a guy running for governor.
So when did you
I got a shot card here. Right here is my policies all right here. It's front of my one card.
Nice.
I've been blown up, so I bring that to events and stuff like this. But my policies are quite simple. Elimination of the Michigan business tax, bringing a space exploration era in, appointing the lieutenant governor to the Upper Peninsula to handle the economy in a much more suitable fashion, so that they can make their business grow and their area grow in the way that they want to, and be able to report to the capital. Correcting the Michigan faulty infrastructure by creating a 100-day audit and determining where all of our money is going, and be able to show the Michigan what we can do to be able to adjust our money in the right funds and where it needs to be. I will look at establishing a full active military base here in the state of Michigan. I want to make it a National Guard base, preferably, or something along that lines that allows us to have training for 24/7, 365 days out of the year. Bring jobs for military up here, bring federal funding up here, and bring in new light to the capabilities we have as one of the strongest states for military training that's possible. I'm looking at energizing the state with renewable energies across the highways. One of my other ideas that was brought up from Gretchen was about taking and electrifying the highways. I was already speaking of that before she had even brought that to light, and actually putting a system in that actually runs the generated electricity that we need it for the EV vehicles in a lane, so they can charge their vehicles and go down the roads.
Is that like a solar road, real quick? Is that like a solar road? I've seen things in the past. Is that like a solar roadway where it's kind of like the tiles that are like solar panels all connecting, or is that just something different?
It would be like running like a bead down the center of the highway that they can collect the energy off their car.
Okay.
Like they have an energy pad that they can kind of like use the same thing. You
Your
put the
cell
phone
phone.
down, you charge it like that. So
That's a good idea.
Slot cars growing up and everything like that. The energy push the cars, so why not push the cars like that?
Right, or like the monorails that used to exist in the cities. Yeah.
Exactly.
But
and that's going to be all over the state. We can also utilize our currents and the tides with our Great Lakes as well as energy producers, and we definitely need to not forget about Flint or Benton Harbor right now.
Yeah.
Those are two things that if I don't put that on my agenda right now talking to you, I shouldn't be running for governor, because
it's crazy.
Honestly, it's the truth. Water comes first. It's life. It's the expectancy of what we want. It's what they need. And they're not prepared for this. It's going into winter, and
some of them are still using water bottles, right? They're still getting water bottle shipments into towns, and then those have to be like handed out because the lead levels are still too high. So how do you even go about solving something like that? Because wasn't the Flint issue a problem where the Detroit pipeline was too corroded or something? They were kind of like taking off of that. So wouldn't you have to replace that whole system?
It was all because we didn't saturate it with another chemical that allowed the lead to leach into the lead pipes is what happened. Okay. Because we decided to cut budget by about 30 to 65 cents per gallon or something like that being traveled, or by so much of water that's being traveled at that price. It was very small. and we didn't put it in there. And because we didn't put it in there, and they were cutting corners, it leached the lead into there and it created the other chemicals to leach as well. And it went throughout the entire system of Flint. That's how
Nice.
we ended up with what we did.
So I've got
Now
millions
they're
of
back
dollars of
to-
repairs.
And now they're back to putting the pipelines back to, I said Flint, and they need one that's actually running from Huron port, from Lake Huron over to us as well.
Mhm.
So with filtration checks along the way, and we definitely need to take Flint, like what we're going to do with Flint Harbor, and that's establish what is salvageable and what is not salvageable. And if the houses aren't salvageable, redeem the land, give them, give money back to the owners and stuff like that, and rebuild on it.
Right.
We need to do the same thing with Benton Harbor as well. We can't just let this sit, because that's not going away. It's a
No,
bad thing.
that's there forever, and that's lifelong debilitating issues for people, and mutations and just things you don't want to deal with.
But-
So for the money for that, would that come from the government? Would taxes have to be raised, or how would you be able to account for the extra money to fix for like the infrastructure projects? None of these things, unfortunately, are cheap. And even for the Line 5 tunnel, would it be the Enbridge company that's paying for it, or would it be Michigan taxpayers?
Line 5 is, I believe, is being covered by Enbridge and the tunnel system as well.
Okay.
You know, I personally want to get Elon Musk into the state here.
Oh,
I want to
that'd be great.
I want to get the Blue Origins in the state. I want to get NASA in the state. I want to get anything that's space exploratory programs into the state of Michigan.
No.
I want to bring them in.
That was-
And Musk has got the boring tunnel system as well. You know, let's
Yeah,
have
yeah.
competing bids and make the cheapest but safest bid that we can, with the so our budget's not busted. You know,
Right, and it'll last a long time.
yes, exactly. Let's do it right. Let's
So-
give opportunities, things like that. We lost opportunities with jobs with Gretchen when she had lost it to Tennessee for the factory that they're building down there now for
the
those
Ford
6,000 jobs.
Yeah, that
You
was
know,
crazy.
the
And
whole
then when I asked
thing
about it,
was
she was just like, "Oh yeah, they never asked about it." And I was like, "What do you? They have to ask you about it? You know, isn't that like part of your job to be actively creating sites that are proper for these companies
Right.
to come in, or appeasing to them?" But
I got something for you, Gretchen. I got a better idea. Let's eliminate the Michigan state business tax altogether.
it would
We
help,
do
man.
that, and we'll bring those companies in, and they'll stay here.
Right. I like that better than subsidizing like big giant corporations. Like a lot of states, they'll have like New York, they'll have like high business tax, but then they'll let like Amazon come in and pay nearly no taxes. I think low business tax in general is a better idea. So that way small businesses can still benefit from these kinds of proposals, and they're not left bearing the burden, as opposed to these big corporations that just offer jobs.
It's a tax that we don't need to add it to the state. I learned that from one of my opponents in the last election,
Mhm.
you know, and I learned it well. And I was like, wait, we can deal without that. We can make up for it in other areas. You
Yep.
know, if people have more money to spend, they're going to spend it on the economy.
Oh yeah, more businesses coming in. That's always a good thing. More product, more shipping, more manufacturing, assembling, all these different things.
Oh yeah, and the space exploration program.
Oh, that's the biggest thing I wanted to talk to you about, to be honest. I was most intrigued when I saw that proposal, because I've seen things talking in the past about like why Florida and why Texas are very beneficial for like space launches, and it's something to do with being closer to the equator. Are there problems with launching things into space from Michigan that you're aware of?
No, we actually have launch sites here in Michigan right now that are almost ready to go.
Yeah, there was one in the UP I saw, right?
Yeah, but there's controversy of whether or not they want that up there to happen.
Right.
You know, because you have to have a vast amount of land that is able to take the amount of heat when they shoot the rockets up, obviously, stuff like that. Now, mind you, that we've come so much further on being able to create much safer and less harmful chemicals from when we started doing the rocket programs.
Right.
So we need to understand this, that in order for us to be able to do something, we have to take and give a little bit. So I think that the little bit of take and give, working together and actually putting it in and actually making those launch sites 24/7, where we have it set up for satellite repairs. We set it up for space exploration or just going up there as part of the space, like Space Guard.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. With
I'm,
like,
I'm actually making a joke about it, but I think it's actually kind of a cool idea. Why not
it
have
is.
a research space force for them?
And it
The
gives
space Guard.
Michigan that firsthand access to those things, especially like high school students. Like, what a better way to create energy in a generation of kids than taking them to places like this and showing them what we're capable of, But growing up, kids in Michigan, we're the furthest thing from seeing those kinds of things. We see them happening everywhere, but here it's just cold and miserable in the winter, but that'd give us something more to look forward to. And you could even think about like Rocket Lab, like the not just the launch aspects, but if you could bring in just any of the businesses producing the microsatellites, producing the boosters, producing the drone technology they're using now. And there's all these new startup companies that are popping up now because of the
like I said, the bonuses for the youngsters and the young generations is there for the opportunities for them to do that. They have brilliant ideas that we haven't heard yet. Let's listen to them. Let's be noted for that.
Right, there's the unknown unknowns.
That's so true.
Hell yeah. So have you gone around the state and have you talked to a decent amount of people about this idea? Is it very well accepted?
I've been talking to people. I'd like to actually sit down and talk to Elon himself.
Dude,
I really would.
That'd be cool. Have you reached out to him?
I'd like to. I'm actually considering that idea of doing so.
Oh, yeah. Well, once you win, maybe he'll sit down and listen with you.
Absolutely. Well, just imagine though, we are going so far with this new generation. Everybody doesn't understand this. Is that even if the worst case scenario was that somebody did beat me, even if that was, they're not going to stop me from running again. I'm going to continue until I get to the platform where I got these ideas for being able to create a better state for everyone, a better community.
And it shows. And it shows. I was able to find you, and your message is slowly getting out there. I saw your debates. I think at the last one I saw was your debate in, was it St. Clair County, where a two-door was up there, and what was it the other lady's name? It started with an A. Bomber. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That was a really good one. So no, you're definitely getting out there, man. Like I said, your ideas are different. Everyone else is focusing on those sensational issues, but meanwhile, I'm here trying my hardest to get an interview with you because it's someone I know I can actually sit down and have these kinds of conversations with, where I feel like if I were talking to those other people, it'd be worthwhile, but I feel like I'd get caught up in the day-to-day politics of it. And I feel like that just drags people, especially the younger generations. When they see that, they're like, oh, that's the crap my dad's arguing about all night. It's like, I want to hear something new, get new ideas on the table.
I'm not the old stuff. I'm the new stuff. I'm your governor of the future, really. I'm that guy, and I still want to challenge, and I'll throw out the challenge to Sedona or to Craig, because I haven't had them yet for a debate. And I'll challenge them to a debate any day of the week.
Garrett Sedona, he seemed interesting. I liked his approach just because he was more grassroots. James Craig wasn't a huge fan of it all. I mean, it just kind of reeks of establishment, same old politics, and he's been in the government for a long time now. He's been basically a boot of the government. He follows their orders. He's done what they've wanted him to do for a long time, especially when it came to the COVID lockdowns. He enforced over like 6,000 different tickets amongst the state. And then when I was doing research on him, I actually came across the Project Greenlight that is going on in Detroit. And I'm sure similar cities similar, but that stuff like that really kind of scares me, to be honest, because that's the facial recognition technology that's kind of starting to encroach in our daily lives. And he's one of the founders of it.
Oh, Craig?
Mm-hmm. In Detroit.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever heard of the Project Greenlight?
I think so. Is that along the lines of like night scope and stuff like that?
Right. And initially it doesn't seem like a bad idea, but it started in 2016. And I remember seeing it in Detroit all the time. You'd go around the city and you see these green lights kind of posted up on different corners in your stores and stuff. And I guess the idea back in 2016 was allow businesses to voluntarily have like a 24-hour surveillance camera monitored by a police station so that they could keep an eye out for people or have people watching all the time. And eventually in 2018 or 2019, they purchased this crazy like $500,000 facial recognition software that now tracks, traces, and databases every face that it sees into a data log that can be shared with Homeland Security, the FBI, the CIA. And I think it was something Bomber was actually talking about. She mentioned how the system is used primarily on people who are wearing masks. And that's how pre-COVID they got around, because people of Detroit voted against facial recognition and being spied on. So like, oh, we'll only facial recognize people who are wearing masks. So now everyone wearing a mask is getting their face tracked and like their profile permanently stamped. And if you commit a crime or if you go to any sort of rally, they put you in that category. So my fear is in the future that they'll use technology like this to crack down on any like dissentive movements or political opposition or free will, essentially. Like where do you stand on like that kind of technology?
It's something that is what you want to say that is in your control, but is not. Is something that I would like to say is someone who is running for office is in my control, but essentially it's not. It's overseen by powers that are above the normal cut of what everybody works around on a daily basis. And it's important for us to remain safe and secure, but at the same time, privacy is very important to us in our daily lives. Can we do anything to really stop the technological animal of facial recognition and future involvements with the stigma of putting them into those programs? I don't think so. Honestly, I think it's something that's just going to be an evolving process that we just need to work with to make sure that we're protected from, so we do have privacy and that we are able to live our daily lives without excessive amount of prying from the outside government.
Right.
I personally would like to see your personal privacies and protections endured over the excessive amount of public output where they can allow that to have happen. And I will stand behind it. I'll stand behind on personally protecting your personal freedoms and your privacies to a level which is understandable by any candidate that should be running.
Right. No, there's a lot of privacy things. It goes back to like the Patriot Act right after 9/11, where they allowed the NSA to come into American cell phones and record like messages and whatnot. And now with COVID, we haven't seen a whole lot of this in the United States yet, but we're starting to see it with our allies like Germany, where they're allowing and Israel, where they're allowing their intelligence companies to have access to people who are COVID positive, like their cell phone data and whatnot. So I guess it's always worth being vigilant against these things. Like you're saying, it's inevitable. This technology is coming, the drones, the surveillance, like even with the just one example on the top of my head, the Rittenhouse trial, not to mention the whole trial, but they had an FBI drone above the whole thing that managed to get footage. And to my mind, that pops in, oh, well, the FBI was there watching the whole time. And I imagine in any situation, they're always kind of lurking in the background. I guess another threat comes from like hackers and stuff nowadays as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised of all the stuff you learn, especially if you've served in the military. I did 8 years before I finally got out, and the amount of stuff you know about that are out there that we don't know is staggering.
It's definitely about providing that balance. You were in the National Guard combat engineers?
Yes, I was.
Right. Were you deployed ever?
I did. I deployed. I went to Afghanistan. I lost my team member over there when I had recently got into country, and I was actually involved in theater.
I'm sorry, man.
It was a hard situation. He's always remembered by our company. We didn't have the luckiest company. We've lost like 5 guys since our deployment. So, and it was all from our same platoon, the same company. So
was it anything in the military that motivated you to like run for politics after getting out, or was it these? Was there anything
it was. That's a good question. A lot of people ask me, well, why are you running for governor?
Well, it's just, it makes sense to me going, that's you're in the government system. You're seeing everything from the inside, and especially going overseas. You're seeing what we're doing over there. You're losing friends. You're seeing all this turbulence.
I was a part of 2 sapper companies, never tabbed, but I was a seance. Let us try. I am the castle. right now you see another a play on some of the wall, the golden wall right now is out there, and I find that kind of funny. I'm like, you guys know that you got a sapper out there that's got a castle that represents him too? I'm
Right.
the red castle.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
Oh man.
in the military, I learned a lot of different new things that I wouldn't have experienced if I hadn't actually joined and put myself out there.
Right. Because I mean, it's got to take a lot of confidence to like get up there on stage with these people and debate them and intellectually grapple with, especially like Whitmer. She was like one thing for this election. I remember she was a prosecutor before she became governor, right? So like she's going to use every dirty trick and say what she has to say or warp any words she has to, how she has to get under your skin. So I imagine being up there.
I watch any of the debates against her that I took up. I stood right next to her on stage and watch how I actually was able to defeat her every time. So
yeah, I'll have to check those ones out. When did the debates next year start? They start all the way like in the fall, or is it earlier in the year?
I think they start around July or so.
July, early summer.
Yeah.
Exciting. So let's see what else.
But yeah, in the military, the guy that had actually pushed me for running for governor was my team leader that had passed. I wanted to do something great for him and aspire to reach as high of a goal as I could to be able to make things right. And with the incident that I had gone through over there, and the time that I spent over there, I learned a lot about the true meaning of what poverty is, what it is to me to really accept your education, understand it. Kids coming out of the schools and how they lived out in the outer parts of the cities of Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite an amazing experience to have. It allowed me to be able to come back here on a more humble and humility of saying things just need to change. Things need to get better. And pardon?
We need more people thinking that. Most people are so complacent with their day-to-day lives. They think things just are the way they are because that's how they're supposed to be. They haven't had that knock in the skull to kind of jolt them out of their sense of comfort. Everyone's kind of like in this weird dream state right now, I feel. And even with all
it really is. Like I said, Afghanistan is, you look around and you don't see a cloud of sky for 9 months, you're going to really, really know that you're not at home.
Right.
Temperature
out of your comfort zone.
Is about 140 degrees. And it was amazing. I'm thankful for the time I spent over there. I'm thankful for the time that I served. And I'm thankful for the fact that I was able to learn new and funny, exciting opportunities and operations that the military were able to give me that nobody else could give me. Right. So that's why I want to bring it here to Michigan for everyone.
That's awesome, man. And before I forget, I did want to ask, so going back to your active military base idea, did you see Ron DeSantis come out with his civilian military force? Is that similar to the idea?
I did see it. I read that. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting idea.
I was like, who? I'm shitting him. I'm like, that's a good thing.
Make America Florida, man.
It's a bad thing. And I'm like, no, I know what he's talking about. He's trying to do it for the people who want to be reservists, who aren't vaccinated and stuff like that. Yeah. To still be serving in the military all year long, because it's one of those states that needs to be all year long with them because of the natural disasters they have in Florida.
Right. And all the people.
A personal militia. Mm-hmm. I'm going to defend him on this one. I thought it was pretty cool. So let's see what he does with it.
I think it's a great idea. It was crazy to see the media come out and call it like a Gestapo and stuff. And it's like, guys, it's already in 23 states. He's only getting 200 guys on this unit. So it's not like he's creating a whole 10,000 man army for himself, and even still.
It's not. No, I know it is. I think it's a great idea. All my ideas are getting utilized by all these governors.
Yeah, they're just stealing them from you, man.
The road idea, that idea for down in Florida. Something's about to come up here. I know another one or two. I'm looking at bringing Hollywood back to Michigan here.
Yeah, that was another thing I saw. That's so exact. Do you just mean like movie production and like just media in general, or what exactly
Yeah,
do you mean by
I'm a
Hollywood?
film major from Grand Valley that switched over to political science in the end, and got into economics as well. But I love making movies. I want to make movies and produce them someday.
Look,
Uh, but
culture's
it's a
huge.
great pardon?
Culture's huge. Culture's a huge factor. Like, what do they say? Politics is just downstream from culture or something like that, just down the road from culture. And culture comes from movies and media and entertainment.
Well, I mean, we can bring Hollywood to Michigan without bringing the politics with them as well. I
Right,
mean, we can bring in the tourism and everything and make that work for us and benefit rather than to look at it as a negative. I
right.
mean, it's so cool to see your city when you're like, hey, I live there, and you're there in Grand Rapids, or hey, I live there, and you're in Muskegon or in Detroit or in the Upper Peninsula,
Right. It
you know.
makes you feel more connected to the world, and like, you're actively a part of it, like you're saying. It makes you feel involved. And there's so much potential in the state. And that's what really bugs me the most is this state is beautiful. There's a lot of great people here, but it feels like we're being so underutilized. We're not reaching our full potential. And it's these bureaucrats and people in politics who've been there for years and who've been just instructed to go be there that are just holding us back. So we definitely need some more independent voices, I feel. So like maybe like I can relate that to like crypto and stuff too, and I'll keep it on the media topic. So like I've always been a big fan of like independent voices and like decentralization. So like that's my thing with like crypto is I like decentralized crypto. I don't like state funded crypto. And I'd say the same thing for like the Hollywood stuff. You think that there's a market for like smaller startup companies to come in, like smarter like the Daily Mail, Ben Shapiro's company, for example, they're starting to invest in like movie making and stuff. Is that kind of more what you mean, or do you mean like old school Hollywood? Like, you see the
Uh,
difference?
all avenues. I'm not looking
Mhm,
at just limiting just only big companies to come in. Why not small? You can start small to become big.
mhm. Yeah, I think that'd be good for Michigan. All right, man. This has been an awesome talk. I'm really glad I was able to get you on. Do you want to say a last couple of things to the people, like any important
You can find me
messages?
on my website at spaceforgovernor.com, space the number four governor.com. Like I said, I'm a moderate business Republican and a veteran and a blue collar guy from Michigan that is pro gun, pro life, pro marijuana, and pro history, looking to change the future for the state of Michigan and make everybody a brighter, newer opportunity for everyone to have that they want. I want you to be able to wake up the next day and be able to say, this is a great state to live in. And this is Michigan. This is where we belong.
Right, something to be proud of. Well, it's awesome, man. Thank you very much. This is my first interview that I've gotten done, so I'm very excited about the whole thing. I really appreciate you coming on and sitting down and talking with me. Maybe in the future, as things develop, we can get you back on and we can go over some more current events and whatnot. But
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely would love to do that,
awesome,
Here,
man.
let me just here, tell you what, I'll give you one of my business cards here. I'll give you a virtual business card here.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll get a little screenshot. Whoa,
Yeah,
yeah, dude. Then didn't they say you're a magician? I think I
I
read an
am.
article. You're a magician. That's awesome. That's I dig it. Thank you for that. But all right, man. It was good talking. I hope you have a good day. I'll keep in touch. And good luck with everything going on, man.
Hey, thank you, sir. You have a great day as
Yep.
well.
You too. I'll see you around.
See you around.